Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So, yesterday, one of my subscribers mentioned this particular issue, and I've decided that I'm going to talk about it. This should not be a long live stream. I want to first start off by sharing my screen and sharing this particular story with you about Meek Mill. And I want to hear from you. I'm really interested in hearing what you all think about this issue. For those of you who don't know, Meek Mill has a new album out, and to promote this album, he's been using some controversial album cover art that features Black women displayed in a sexually provocative kind of way. And this has stirred controversy because a white man did a video where he was complaining about this artwork, and this video has gone viral. And I'm not going to play the video because I don't want to deal with any copyright issues. But what I'm going to do is share this article with you and read a few excerpts from the article and then share my thoughts about this particular issue. So let me share my screen. So hopefully you can see this article. This is on Black America Web. And this article is entitled White Man Publicly Slams Meek Mill's Album Cover as Disrespectful to Black Women. Now, you can see this image right here. This is one of the images from his album cover. It features Black women. And you can see these are Black women, and these are like cartoonish type figures, real abstract type of art. And it's images of nude Black women. One woman is on a pole, like a stripper's pole. Another woman is bent over, and another woman, you can see her back, and she's looking back at people. So in response to this, you had this white man do this video. He got on video. It was like a 2 minute long clip, and he was complaining about this particular ad. This particular artwork that was on a bus. Like this artwork was displayed on a bus. And this is what he said. He basically said, "What the F is this?" He went on to ask, "Is this what Black women want?" Um, and then he said, "Is this how you want to be respected in life? This is how you want to be portrayed." This is another thing that he claims. And this white guy is from Philadelphia, from Meek Mill's hometown. And he's going off, and he basically said that he would have been supportive, but he didn't like the idea of these images. He complained about the idea of little girls seeing these particular images and being influenced by these particular images. Um, and then he also complained about this image of this checkered floor right here. And he basically said that that's a Masonic symbol. And he said that Masons, that is satanic and all that kind of stuff. He went on to talk about it satanic, etc. And then he made further claims that it was all connected to the vaccine. And then, he goes on talking about take your freaking mask off and all this other nonsense. And this article points out that the artist that created this piece, or this artwork or whatever, is an African American woman. And this particular artist, and you can see it on this Wikipedia page, they talk about her art. Now I'll post a link to this in the description box so that people could check this out. This is a well-known artist. She explores subjects of race and gender and all that kind of stuff. So this is in line with the type of work that she does. It says she explores race, gender, pop culture, homophobia, and politics in her work. So this is just another example of her type of work. But you had this white guy ranting and raving about this as if this is some major new type of phenomenon. It's just out of this world. It demands, all this attention and all this outrage and all that kind of stuff. So I just want to share some of my thoughts about this for a second. Shout out to the people tuning in. But I want to just talk about this. First of all, I think that this is an example of fake outrage. And, the reason why I say this is because, this guy is all over dramatic. He's all melodramatic and all that kind of stuff in his video. Clearly thirsty for attention, clearly trying to do something to gain publicity and all that kind of stuff, clearly trying to go viral. And that's exactly what happened. This is not about some sincere concern about Black women. It's not about that at all. This is about somebody seeking attention and doing what they can to get that attention. You can tell just by his demeanor, the way he's all expressing himself and all that kind of stuff. You can tell that this is nothing but fake outrage. Because I wonder, where is all this outrage when we're constantly bombarded with these types of images of Black women? And I'm not talking about some cartoons. I'm talking about actual images of Black women degrading Black women. Like the images that we see in like some of the most popular hip hop artists, some of the most popular female rap artists, they promote these types of images that this guy claims to be so outraged about. But I don't see any of this type of outrage expressed from, white men when they see these images of Megan Thee Stallion or Cardi B or any of these other models, these women rappers who are not even really writing their own rhymes, who are just selling sex. They are basically marketing themselves as flesh to people, tantalizing people. And the only thing a lot of them sing about is sex and all that kind of stuff, realizing that sex sells and all that kind of stuff, depicting women as sex objects and all that kind of stuff. And I don't see the same kind of outrage about that. I don't see the same kind of outrage when, you have all these countless videos where, rap artists degrade women, where they're calling women all kinds of derogatory names and all that kind of stuff, celebrating misogyny and all that. I don't see this same kind of outrage around that. I don't see that same kind of anger that we saw in this particular video. And misogyny definitely is an issue in hip hop culture that needs to be addressed. It's something that people have been speaking out against for years. You had people back in the '90s, challenging the misogyny in the music, challenging the violence in the music, and all that kind of stuff. And people attacked those people for having the gall to criticize hip hop music and popular culture and stuff like that. And those people were really ahead of their time. They were trying to confront, a lot of the problems that we see in the music. They were trying to deal with, a lot of the negative messaging that's being put out to our young people and put out to society at large. But I don't see that I didn't see that kind of outrage from a white man around this issue. And if they really want to express like outrage, they need to be outraged at the industry that's ran by these white men, the entertainment industry, the people that own these record companies, that own these distributing companies, that own Hollywood, that pump out these negative images of Black people and promote and put on a pedestal the artists that promote the most negative images of Black people and Black women in particular. I don't see these people marching or yelling or going into some music studio to complain about the companies that are putting out this music and marketing this type of music and basically pushing everything else to the margins, pushing conscious music to the margins, pushing creative music to the margins, and constantly putting out this misogynistic, self-destructive type of messages to our people. That's the music industry that's behind that. And of course you have these puppets, these corporate Black puppets that play into that role and perpetuate those images, much like you had Step It Fetch It. Even though it was Hollywood that hired him and all that kind of stuff, he decided to be a buffoon, he decided to perpetuate these stereotypes, just like some of these modern day rap artists decide to perpetuate these negative images of their own people and of their own selves. Um, but yeah, I just don't see that same kind of outrage expressed at the puppet master. Instead, you had this guy attacking the little puppet for putting out this particular art. And I'm going to go into this art and just share my thoughts about this art and what I think about him, complaining about this in general. But before I even get into that, something about this doesn't sit right with my spirit. Like the idea of some white man telling a black man what he needs to be doing or how he needs to be dealing with black women. Something is sick about that. Something is paternalistic about that. Something just isn't right about that. And the mere fact that he feels like he's in a position of that kind of entitlement where he can dictate to a black man how a black man should be dealing with white men, that speaks to a sense of entitlement. That speaks to like a sick type of mentality that some of these people have, this arrogance about them and stuff like that. So, that's one thing that doesn't sit right with me, even if this man was right about what he had to say. The mere fact that he felt that he had to be the one to speak on this issue, uh, says a lot. What does it say about what he thinks about black people and black women in particular as well? What does it say about what he thinks about black men? And the sad truth is, unfortunately, not enough black men speak out against misogyny and all that kind of stuff. But that's a whole nother issue that needs to be addressed. But let's get into this art. So this art is really abstract. You know, this art. Um, when I look at those images, I don't see much difference between those pieces of art. Those images of black women and the images that you see in any museum. I earlier in September, I went to Paris, and I went to the Louvre Museum, and throughout that museum, you have nude images of women. And then throughout, other museums, not only there in Paris, but throughout the world and here in the United States, if you go into any museum, you're going to see all these nude images of women. And all that art is respected as art. All that art is viewed as art. Nobody's walking around the museum talking about how disrespectful this stuff is to women. That guy that did that silly, over the top, overly dramatic video. You don't see him or people like him running around the museum talking about, this is disrespectful to women or anything like that. You don't see that. They recognize that stuff as artwork. They celebrate it as artwork. They celebrate it as masterpieces. And again, this is a artist that has, done great pieces and had all kinds of shows and all that kind of stuff. So, that's one thing that I have to say about that. The other thing is this, as I mentioned before, misogyny in hip hop is an issue that needs to be confronted and dealt with. And I think that it has to be black men to deal with this. Black men have to confront the misogyny in this music that is dominated by black male artists. So we need to address that. We need to speak out against it. And even just as important as black men speaking out against it, black women need to do the same. And black women shouldn't participate in their own demise. They shouldn't participate in degrading themselves. And that's what happens a lot of times. It's black women that voluntarily participate in these music videos where a black woman is depicted as a sex object. There should be some accountability there as well. There is some black women that are these rap artists that promote these negative images of black women, as sexualized sex objects and all that kind of stuff, overhyped sexual objects and stuff like that. Just like you all seen about, the story about the Hottentot Venus and stuff like that, about a African woman that was exploited and trotted around and stuff like that. Exploited, her body was exploited while she was alive and then even exploited after her death. That's the modern day black woman in entertainment today. All over social media, you got black women putting themselves out there like sex objects. Whether it's on you know, TikTok or whatever, everywhere you see, you got the black woman presenting herself in that kind of way. A certain segment, and this is not all black women or even most black women, but it's a significant number that present this negative image of black women as sex objects, as as out of control and uncivilized and all that kind of stuff. So, that's something that has to be dealt with, like our own accountability, our role in this. It's easy to like, just point the fingers and all that kind of stuff, but we have to take accountability for the images that we perpetuate and that we put out here. When you look at this music, like, and listen to this music that a lot of these rap artists are putting out here, like, first of all, you had a male rap artist, they had these degrading songs about women, and now you have a lot of these women artists that are promoting thought culture and stuff like that, promoting, stripper culture, promoting these, degrading images of black women and stuff like that. So we need to deal with that. Black men and black people need to be the ones dealing with that. We don't need any white saviors to come and try to save us from ourselves. And that's what you have with this white man, basically trying to tell black people how we should conduct ourselves and all that kind of stuff. And basically trying to come to the rescue, trying to save black women from this quote unquote evil black man, Meek Mill. And again, something about that just doesn't sit right with me. The other thing is this, like, we don't even know the full context of that art. You know, we don't know the story behind the art. We don't know if there's a message behind it. I haven't heard his latest album. Perhaps he's making a statement about materialism and the degradation of women. We just simply don't know. So I think it's premature for somebody to run out here and you know act like this is the end of the world, like this is the most important thing in the world and stuff like that. Some cartoonish type of art is so outrageous when we have all this debauchery in this society, and you're gonna complain about one some artwork. I mean, that just, to me, it's just ridiculous, man. So let me see what you all are saying before I close out. It's just something else, man. It's just like these people feel like they have to save us from ourselves. And without a doubt, I'm sure that there's some people, like some of these, um, some women are probably like celebrating this guy, saying he's defending black women and all that kind of stuff, when he's really not. He's really just about self promotion. He's really about gaining attention for himself. And the guy is really kind of nutty. I mean, just based on his statements about, the vaccine and, all this conspiracy mumbo jumbo, and all this stuff about Masons and the devil worship and stuff like that. Typical conspiracy mumbo jumbo and stuff. Um, he's probably one of these Trump people, just based on his statement about the vaccine and all that kind of stuff, one of these right wing fanatics. But I'm sure some people are holding this guy out as a hero and stuff like that. And these same people that are celebrating him as a hero, I mean, they don't celebrate, black men or black women doing the same thing, speaking out against, the debauchery in the culture and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, that's just what I think about this. So I'm really interested in hearing what you all think about this. What do you think about this artwork? And do you think this is even an issue that people should be talking about? Like, is it really that important? Especially at a time when all these things are going on, when we see what happened to that brother Jelani Day. And I plan to do a video about that probably tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll be able to do it tomorrow evening. I have to talk about that particular subject, but I'm really interested in hearing from y'all. And for those who don't know, I'm back here on YouTube. I had some personal things that I've been dealing with, some personal goals that I've been working on and stuff like that. So I just haven't been here, but I am back. I plan to post regularly on here. And I'm really interested in feedback from you. If there are topics that you want me to discuss, feel free to email me at newpossibilityblog@yahoo.com. I'm open to any recommendations. If there are people that you would like me to collaborate with, please let me know. Or if you're interested in collaborating and you have a channel, I would welcome the opportunity to talk to you about that. So I want to do a few shout outs. Shout out to 2000. Thanks for tuning in. Shout out to Nkrumah Toure. Thanks for tuning in. Shout out to Elaine Lloyd. Yeah, so Elaine mentioned that it's about, the positioning is different and all that kind of stuff. I've seen all kinds of art, like in museums. Like I've seen when I went to this museum in Paris, and I can't remember. It may not have been the Louvre. It may have been another museum that we went to in Paris. But in this particular exhibit, it just featured like this one particular painting was just a painting of a woman's vagina. That's what was on the canvas, and it had some explanation behind it and stuff like that. But if you go to any museum, like and you see the contemporary art, you will see all kinds of exotic type of art. You will see all kinds of images of nude women, nude men, and all that kind of stuff. Like there was this one museum where basically every other step we made was, we would see, a nude statue of a man, you know, um, and plenty of nude statues of women and stuff like that. And that's celebrated as art. But then, you got this art for an album cover, and this guy is like complaining about that, like making it seem like it's the most vulgar thing ever. And this is really cartoonish art. It doesn't even show much detail to it or anything like that. But yet and still, you got this guy acting like it's the end of the world. And that's why I can't take him seriously. Like when you look at the video, you see how overly dramatic this guy is. You see, like, that his intentions really aren't about like defending black women and celebrating black women or any of that stuff. Yeah, so I want to thank you all for tuning in. Please tell me what you all think about this. Please rate, comment, subscribe, like the video, share the video, and make sure you hit that notification bell so that you'll know when I post new content on here. YouTube messes around with views and all that kind of stuff, and they have some special algorithm. And so it's important that you know, like, when I post these videos, so that way you can tune in and all that kind of stuff. So with that, I'm gonna say peace and blessings to each and every one of you. Look out for some new videos, probably coming tomorrow as well. I want to talk about the death of Jelani Day. I'm going to talk about that whole issue involving that coach that resigned over some emails. I definitely need to talk about that. So with that, peace and blessings. Have a great evening, y'all.